What's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to my Brew City Garden. So we're getting into late August now, and it seems like here in Zone 5B, what tends to happen mid to late August is the nighttime temps tend to cool down a little, the dew points tend to increase at night. So what we end up with a lot of times is a problem with our squash in the form of powdery mildew. And I want to take you over here to the garden and just kind of show you what I'm talking about, what powdery mildew looks like, and perhaps how we can treat it, or what I'm going to do personally with my plants. Okay, so what is powdery mildew? Powdery mildew, just to put it simply, is a fungus. And it really thrives in cooler nighttime temperatures and high humidity. A lot of times you'll get it after a particularly windy day where the spores will blow in from somewhere else. And really there's no real prevention for it. You can apply it if you know that you have powdery mildew, say every season. You can help deter the mildew by applying a neem oil or perhaps baking soda solution, and I'll let you look that up. There's hundreds of recipes out there to help deter and prevent powdery mildew. So the powdery mildew is really easy to identify, and basically it looks like powder. I mean, literally, like maybe somebody came out here and sprinkled your plants with baby powder or flour or something like that. It sticks to the leaves quite a bit. And a lot of times you'll see it start to develop on the undersides of the leaves. Now, really, once you've got this in the garden, there's no getting rid of it. But at the same time, you don't have to freak out. I mean, powdery mildew, yeah, it's unsightly, but as far as killing your plants or stopping production, that's not really an issue. I'm still gonna get squash off of these plants with no problem. They're developing flowers. Everything looks pretty good other than the powdery mildew itself. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. Yeah, it's kind of ugly. I don't really want it to spread. There's a couple things I might do. The really terribly affected leaves, I'll just go ahead and cut those out. Don't put it in your compost, because then you're just gonna spread it into the rest of your compost and in the rest of your garden. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these out on my curb where my municipality will come and pick these up and take them away for me. I don't have to worry about them anymore. Otherwise, you can just throw them in a trash bag, throw them in the trash. But I don't recommend putting this stuff in your compost. Now, I have been spraying neem oil all season, and as you can see, it may have prevented some of it or helped keep it from developing so quickly in the season, but it didn't get rid of it. Now, the number one tip I have for you, if you just have to control your powdery mildew, you want to try to get rid of it, is using a solution of milk. And again, you can look online. There's 100 different recipes. I've seen mixtures of anywhere from 1 part milk to 3 parts water, to 1 part milk and 10 parts water, and anywhere in between. So, really just a little bit of the milk. And what it is the proteins in the milk. And I don't think we fully understand how it works, but the proteins in the milk work with sunlight to help break down the powdery mildew. It acts almost like an antiseptic. So it is very effective. And perhaps I will make up a mixture of milk and water myself, maybe add a little dab of dish soap and spray these down. What I'm more concerned about are my winter squash behind me that aren't affected yet. So those are what I want to pay attention to right now. These here, there's not much I can do with the summer squash, but I do want to prevent this from spreading to my winter squash. Now, don't tell my wife I'm using milk out of the refrigerator, because I'll be sleeping out here in the garden. Sometimes, if you go to the store and you get that bad batch of milk, it just doesn't quite taste right. Don't dump it down the drain. Just put it in little freezer bags, separate it out, throw it in the freezer. That'll work perfect for applications like this in the garden. So what exactly am I gonna do with my powdery mildew? First, I'm not gonna worry too much about it. The great thing about straw bale gardening is you don't have to worry about rotating crops, and you don't have to worry about diseases spreading from one season to the next. And the reason is all these bales are going to come out of here, and I'm going to start next spring with fresh new bales that are disease free, and I don't have to worry about insects, diseases, anything like that that could spread from one year to the next to the next. Now what I will have to do is be careful with what I plant in the used bales, these bales next spring, because I will take these bales and put them in my back garden. So I won't plant squash back there or any of the cucurbit family that are susceptible to powdery mildew. And after a few years of not planting anything that's susceptible, most of those spores that were left in the bales, they'll be gone. And I simply won't have to worry about it. So that's the beautiful thing about straw bale gardening. Basically, you start fresh with brand new virgin soil every single season, and as you can see, it works fantastic. Powdery mildew, this stuff can blow in from your neighbors. It can blow in from 10 miles down the road. There's not a whole lot of getting rid of it, and I'm not worried about it. These plants are going to be just fine. I've gotten a ton of squash this year, and I still got more coming on. And if these plants die off, oh well, I got more than I know what to do with already. I'm not worried about it. Again, I will treat the winter squash, which still have a long time before maturity, just to help prevent this stuff from spreading onto those. Chances are they will spread over there, but if I can keep it at bay long enough to get my winter squash to maturity, honestly, I don't even care. So it really doesn't make any difference. If you have powdery mildew, don't freak out. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, you can use neem oil, a baking soda spray, and best yet is a milk spray if you really feel like you have to do something about it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. If you're straw bale gardening, just get through your season, compost your bales, and start fresh next year. So thanks again for joining me here today at the Brew City Garden. I hope I answered some questions or maybe eased your mind a little bit about powdery mildew in your straw bale garden. Guys, it's not a killer. It's really not that big of a deal. Yes, it's unsightly, it's kind of ugly, and yes, the spores can hibernate in the soil year after year, but again, with the straw bales, it's really not that big of a deal. We're going to start fresh next year with new bales. So unless the conditions are just right, next year we may or may not get that powdery mildew again. Hey, if this video helped you out, do me a favor, hit that like button down below, hit that thumbs up button for me, I'd appreciate that. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button right there, and you can keep up with the Brew City Garden throughout the rest of this season and for years to come. We're gonna have a lot of fun and do a lot of experiments with our straw bale gardening. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, do some work in the garden. We'll see you guys later. Take care. We'll see you.